Heights.
Sweat.
Darkness. Pain.
The spiders.
Pizza.
Life.
Environment.
Food.
Distortion. Cloud.
Peaceful.
Everything.
Agony.
Love.
Movie.
Amazing.
Emotion.
What do you think? This ought to be the right kind of place for a tough guy like you. Garbage cans, rats galore. Scram! I said take off. Beat it. Let's go.
Well, I'm thinking about my mom a lot because like she's shown me some like really good movies. She showed me for example the movie Heathers and was like, I was obsessed with this movie when I was in high school. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally understand why. And like she and I are very similar, so we've kind of realized our similarities through movies.
Movies are cool. I think they're cool because they're a culture. If small talk is, oh, you seen any good movies lately? Or, hey, Rogue One's coming out this Friday. You know, that's a cool thing. You know, or, oh, what's your mom's favorite film? Love Actually. That's my mom's favorite film too. You know, so it's just such a cultural thing. It's such a thing we center around. That, you know, they can last for, you know, Wizard of Oz, you know, is that 7,500, how old is that thing? Like 75 years old? You know, like still has such like cultural influence as even like a Deadpool that comes out recently, you know, and you just have that constant interaction between all these things in the culture. It's popular, it's Hollywood, it's gold, as the Oscars motto was a few years ago. Everyone dreams in gold, you know, like no one, like they're telling you otherwise, they're lying, you know, people love that. It's the movies, it's magic.
Yeah, well, I guess when I was little, I never really watched movies with friends too much. I guess the main person was probably, my brother. Yeah, I guess me and him just watched a lot of movies together. We didn't even, like, talk too much. It was just, like, watching a movie, and we didn't, like, talk about it. We were just feel like together, just watching a movie.
Sometimes I feel like there are some things that, like, a parent can't really articulate to a child themselves, so there's always a movie for that, especially with like the themes that are in The Wall. Like my mom was like, I'm not going to talk to you about this, but you can watch it and tell me how you feel about it and we can talk about it later. So it's like kind of a conversation starter, I guess.
It's a way to hang out with friends and family without having to constantly be self-aware.
In film we ask, what's your favorite movie and what's the greatest movie? Favorite movie would have to go to either The Pink Panther Strikes Again or The Return of the Pink Panther, because Peter Sellers is hysterical. That was my literally childhood, and I form a special bond with anyone who has seen the Pink Panther movies. Ergo Mr. Sullivan. But yeah, Pink Panther is hysterical. I've seen it a good 100 times. I say the words with the movie and I still laugh at it every time.
Longing.
Everything.
Always.
Me.
Runs.
Teacher.
Learner.
Also me.
Studious.
Stress.
Party. In pain.
Stupid.
Center of pain.
Awful.
Boring. Oh God.
Hate.
Sucks.
Dead.
Great.
Awesome.
Entertaining.
No more pain.
I love science fiction. I love the physics behind it. I love the impossible to be possible, the coincidences, and the fact that something that happened in the future came to the past and it went to the future. Possibilities beyond Earth.
The best film in the world is The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan, and let me tell you why. See, there's this guy named Batman, and he's a freaking badass, and you see he wears this bat stuff, and he wears like a whole bat mask sort of thing. He has a thing going for him, and he fights bad people like the mob and this crazy ass guy named the Joker, and he wears this really cool purple suit. It's pretty nice, you know, the whole insanity thing he has, it's going for him, you know.
It's like this animated movie. It's called The Fisherman. The story was like really confusing. Like I had to watch it several times before I even understood what was happening. Like some random guy in Neo Tokyo like unhooks this fish hook from this fish's mouth. Like it and this other fish find each other, and there's just this like very confusing swirling of wind and light, and there's an explosion, and then Neo Tokyo is ruined, and that's just the end of the movie. It was really beautiful.
For example, Inception. The entire point of that movie is to think about like the dreams, the reality, whether it's actually real or not. Similar also like to The Matrix. They play with that idea, whether this is real.
So movies are fun. I think you just, like, it's important to analyze them, but I think at their core you just need to have fun with them, and you need to just enjoy them. Or feel the appropriate emotion, you know, but like fun, like happy, sad, both are fun. It is fun to experience emotions.
I'd have to say my favorite movie is The End of Evangelion by Hideaki Anno. It's a very cerebral, abstract movie, you know, very character focused, with a great soundtrack and awesome giant robot fights, which is pretty much everything you could ask for in a movie. Movies are cooler than real life. I mean, you don't see a giant robot fight in real life yet.
Yummy.
Fishy.
Salty.
Olives.
Color.
Women.
Art.
Picasso.
Frame.
Brushstrokes.
God.
Blinding.
Prism.
Shadow.
Pink.
Everything.
Movies. Beautiful.
Satoshi Kon, he's only made a few movies because he died like pretty recently. Actually, the movie that I watched recently, Perfect Blue, and it's like an anime film. It's basically about this pop idol and this dude who becomes obsessed with her. It's depicted really well, like the idol culture, what society expects of women, especially like famous women. His portrayal of women is really different from the way it is in Western films. The subject material is something that's not introduced in Western films a lot, and it just makes it more interesting to watch.
I think it opens us up to ideas and images that we wouldn't really encounter in our daily lives. Like Nim's Island. It's a movie about a girl who's left on the island alone, and she's also in communication with like a writer. When I was little, I wanted to be a writer, so I guess I connected in that part.
My favorite movie would be Cinema Paradiso. It's a great movie. It describes my life. I have my Alfredo in my life too, who worked at the movie theater and was like, Toto, you must leave, go to Rome. Don't come back or we'll not welcome you. But it's in Italian, not just an accent. I also had a girlfriend in high school. He kind of had a girlfriend there. That's my life.
Stuff that makes you think and makes you feel. That is what a movie can do, and that's what it should do. And so if it doesn't, if it just shows you the same old thing, shows you what you see all around you and doesn't expand on that in any way, that's not a good movie.
Well, films do a good job of attract a mass audience. They're known to be popular. They're not, I mean, books are really popular as well, but films are something that allows for the spread of an idea to a multitude of people. I don't know if Transformers actually bothered to have any thematic depth. Who knows? It could really teach some people some interesting things about be it themselves or their world or culture.
Film, for me, is a way to not only see the world, but see how others see the world, because it really opens your views in terms of how other cultures see the world. If you watch international films, or how different people in different positions see the world, and through film you can express your views, and you can, I think, really change how people view things through film, and I think that's why I really like it.
Beauty.
Music.
Garbage.
Earth.
Me.
A pencil.
Space.
Helpful.
Origami.
Wood pulp.
In my face.
David Fincher.
Action.
Good.
Hello.
Camera. Studies.
Rolling.
I just wrote like 3 college essays about this. With books and stuff, you can like get very deep within somebody's psyche, but you're not really there with them. Like, you know, with theater, you can't really do that, and that's what I like about film. I think combining the visuals with the with sound like is really immersive.
I know that sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I'm just very surprised by the choice of music, and I like when I'm surprised because I think there are certain cliche paths that people go with scoring films. You know, it's good when people deviate from that and try to do something a bit different. It just makes the movie a better experience for me.
When I grew up watching a lot of like obscure and weird and sort of campy kind of films, and that's sort of how I got interested in filmmaking to begin with, and in camera work and that sort of stuff. When we were kids, one of the things that we watched all the time were like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. By the end of high school, we could quote like every single movie of his. So like Predator, we could do like the whole movie from start to finish. But I think sort of that campiness, I kind of saw the humor in it even when you're not necessarily supposed to. And because of that, I think I prefer dark films and humorous films. And if they could be like dark and humorous, like The Lobster, like that's the best kind of film that I can think of.
I was watching this series a while ago, and the music was very like, it was kind of like industrial almost, but it wasn't in a bad way. I liked how there are a lot of very sudden stops in the music, like where you wouldn't expect it in a scene, but there was so much there and then the next second there wasn't. And I think a lot of times music tries to like fade out, but I think that when you have music that stops suddenly like that, it kind of mimics a person's like natural thought process. It's very like stop and go. So I like having that concept in my music, if that makes sense. Like there are certain things that I'll hear in music in films or in like series that inspire me, and that's like one of those things.
I think it's a combination of 2 separate mediums. You have a visual medium and an auditory medium, and the way that our brain combines that and perceives things because of it, I think is really unique. It's not the kind of thing that you get just from looking at artwork or just from listening to music. It almost happens subconsciously. Sometimes we can hear things in a film and we don't necessarily know that we're hearing it, and that evokes some sort of emotional response from us. The same way that a certain configuration of light and darkness creates an emotional response in us that can be mirrored in the sound or can be contrasted with the sound. So I think it's just so dynamic.
Film is definitely something, it's kind of my mode of expression. It's how I've always thought about things, and I kind of for a long time didn't realize how unique that was, that, you know, the way I think about things is visually, and how quickly I'm able to break down a script. You know, I think studying classic films by like Howard Hawks and, you know, even contemporary directors like Edgar Wright, you know, you see that there's people who think in that way too. It's just how they see the world and how they break things apart, and it's a very unique medium to get your vision across. And it's the only way I could ever think of getting my visions across and saying things I want to say.
Screaming.
Secret. Sigh.
Talk.
Quiet. Perfect.
Fear.
Face.
None.
Colorful.
Power.
Messy.
Soul.
Mind.
Outer.
Psycho.
Movies.
Wine.
The first movie that I watched that changed my life was my mom showed me The Wall when I was like 10, and for some reason it was so violent, and it really like changed how I felt about not only music but like power relationships in total. Seeing like someone who becomes totally lost and torn apart by war and love, it's a very special place in my heart.
It has to be story. It all comes down to story. Whether or not the story is achieved through a conventional means or whether it's achieved through something a little bit more creative or a little bit more campy, as long as I'm engaged in the story, I know that the student has done something well. It's not the kind of thing that you can achieve just through visuals or just through audio. It's the kind of thing that you have to achieve through careful writing and careful planning. I think even at a base level, the films that are the cheesiest and the worst films that I can think of that I still somehow enjoy have some sort of story that is essential to them that I find amusing, fun, or intriguing in some way. For me, that's essential. It's all about storytelling.
When I'm choosing films to watch, I think competence, I think real passion, kind of done with like ironic film. I like to see that there's, someone's heart, someone's real emotions in it. I like to see when a film is really bold and daring, and not just trying to be a type of film, but it has to be like a film about an important issue. It just has to be a film about important emotions.
Love Actually, I love like the Mr. Bean scene when he's like with Rowan, when he's like putting like the sprig of holly in the bag for Alan Rickman. Obviously like Monty Python. I guess it's just a British thing. I guess British movies are fun. Monty Python, I grew up on those, but also like Mel Brooks, like Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, like just these little things that are just very like honest and human. I know that sounds like a really like sort of pretentious thing to say, but like just these very like, they're not trying too hard. They're just very like silly.
For me, I feel like it's like the kind of the best art form at like creating empathy, because you can get like really close to a person. Also, you can just be like physically present with a human being and like see the world through their eyes. I just really like it as like a way to kind of connect people.